Shiva did send me the links to watch the film, and I didn't watch it. I wanted to watch it here. And I'm glad that I did because we discussed I would ask you three questions, but I'm just at a loss for words and questions. I feel in equal parts slapped and tickled. I've never felt this before. I don't know what to say. But even so, I think a couple of quick observations that I want to throw at you and at the audience. You guys will get to ask Anurag a question after I'm done with my 2, 3 questions, and very short questions. So we are just keeping it very chill. I don't have the one thing I don't want to do is do the intellectual. Uh, what is the vatavaran inside this filmmaking? How did you do this? What is the technicality and how does it feel? I want to avoid the intellectual. I don't have the language for it. I don't have the vocabulary for it. I think that would be very anti the energy of these films also. Uh, for me, the sentiment throughout the 3 films was stunningly the first image, which was the peacocks behind. And in some ways, it was like you were showing us various people's behinds to all of us through the films. And it's just a very different kind of sensation. Uh, I'd like to ask you at the offset, how did you, when you were doing the voiceovers, the tone that you used, which is that of I think the tele ad voice.
Doordarshan kind of.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The white people who were talking in Hindi.
Lonely Planet ka jaise aata
Yeah,
tha,
those were the ads that I automatically remembered. The funniest one I remember watching is one white man saying, "पहले मैं बहुत बदबूदार था, मैं बहुत परेशान था, मेरी बिल्ली मुझसे दूर भागती थी, फिर मैंने अपनाया नया डिओड्रेंट, उसके बाद रौनक आ गई." That tone. And lots of references to what it was like to have grown up in this place. I'm talking about the slap here particularly because at an age when you have films and when you have a lot of intellectualization that are begging the entire world to look at things very seriously, you seem to have slapped that seriousness out and shown us a completely different picture of what it's like to grow up in Rajasthan. That I think is a huge, huge achievement. We don't get to see films like these anymore. And I like that there is room here for these films to be screened and to be talked about. I like the irreverence. I like the slap. I like the tickle. So I want to know what began this journey for you, this irreverence.
I don't know. I mean, I was practicing. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Yeah. So I was practicing the work and art in different kind of forms since I think 12, 13 years. So 2010, I finished my engineering, and then I was completely clueless what to do because I had vague idea that I want to practice something which is artistic because one of my teacher told me that Anurag, you are creative. So that was for me very surprising moment. I said, what is creative? Then he explained that do you have this thing. So I got some kind of identity. So for one year, I was very happy that finally I know about myself. Like there is I'm a creative person, so that's the identity. So I wanted to do something with it. So I don't know what to do. So some people told me that you can go to FTI or these kind of school and everything. But at that time, I was totally clueless. So I worked in a call center for many years, not many years, but 6, 8 months, and kind of figuring it out what to do in the life. So I also went to Bombay to struggle because people told me that you have to struggle. So, but there also I would just roam around the city doing nothing. Sometime I would print out a CV and go to these Aram Nagar offices and give my CV that I'm Anurag, I'm a creative person, I like these ideas and everything, which is totally stupid. And I also don't want to get employed at that time, but I was also feeling guilty of not doing anything to remove my unemployment. So yeah, I did it for many years, completely roaming around, doing nothing. But then I joined. But at the same time, I was very interested into world cinema in literature, so I was studying it, but I also knew that this is not going anywhere, not but just for the love of it I was doing it. So yeah, that happened, and then I joined JNU, art and aesthetics, and then I joined FTI. So all these years I was going through something, but I was not finding the voice. Like, I would also write poetry. So at that time I released my book as well in 2016, which is titled Love in the Time of Pokemon. And then in 2017 I also released a book of short story which was titled I Love You But Only on Weekend. So that I had a slight, like, I was interested in quirk and this kind of experimental thing which breaks this whole idea of what can be sacred, what can be profane, what can be intellectual, what can be non-intellectual, how we present ideas. But I was not getting anywhere. So even my Instagram page was earlier titled New Age Poetry, where I had 10 followers because New Age poetry. So but I would publish something, and the only comment I used to get, like 3-4 likes, and the only comment I used to get was follow for follow. Like, if you follow me, I'll follow you back. So I used to follow them, but sometimes they didn't follow me. So there was also this kind of online scam. So yeah, I was going through it, but I couldn't find exact voice in which I want to say, because I also made documentary, short films, and everything I was trying. I think it was during the pandemic that I became completely free mentally, because I thought the world is going to end and I might also die. So that kind of existential meaninglessness made me very free. Like I said, I will do whatever I want to. Because earlier I also very scared to show my family and everything, because we live in atmosphere. They will, especially in Rajasthan, they don't like it. Like, you are from village, and your family is not educated and stuff like that. So I couldn't have that courage also to present my family or what was my bachpan kis tarah ka tha, childhood kis tarah ka tha. But in pandemic I said, like, screw that. I'll do whatever I want to do. So yeah, that's how it came. These films, and I really like to play around the idea of subconscious. So I would just write whatever comes to my mind. So obviously for that subconscious, you need training. To train your subconscious is also necessary, that you have to do through movies and everything, what you read and what your life has been. So yeah, I did that during the pandemic. 2-3 films I these made it, and the response was also good. So yeah, I continued it. That's how it started. Yeah, and I also enjoyed it a lot while making it. So it also felt a little effortless in that sense. So yeah, but that reaching to the voice was very difficult. That took me like 12, 13 years to reach at some kind of a voice which I can say it is my own voice. And especially even that voiceover thing is also very mixed. There, I don't know if some people have seen the film Tiranga, that there was a character called Khabri Lal. आज के समाचार समाप्त हुए. Like, there was a character, Tiranga movie. I mean, there's a Khabri Lal character, so he inspired me. Then there are films of Manikal Amit Datta, who's experimental filmmaker. They also have the voiceover, which is very deadpan. So these are also some of the inspirations. And also my two filmmaker whom I love the most, Aki Kaurasmaki and Jim Jarmusch. So like, it's very fractured and messy kind of a thing. So I can't exactly pinpoint where it came from, but it's very messy.
I'm very happy you used the word messy, because it's one thing that I think more and more we are learning. We've been forgetting how to be.
Yeah.
Even if we learn it, we objectively, deliberately learn how not to be messy, because craft and seriousness and art and all of that. I've been spending the last, and I'm glad you brought up the voice thing, because I've been spending the last 2 weeks in conversation with an editor who's sitting in the US, who is, and I'm writing about how Dalit teachers would teach Shakespeare or something like that. And she is horrified because she thinks I'm not taking the idea of Dalit teachers very seriously enough. I want to have fun in this paper, and she's not letting me have fun. She's trying to remind me again and again that Dalit teachers have suffered, and that suffering should be made visible on paper. And I don't know why I didn't want to do that anymore. I just wanted to have fun with Shakespeare and what my father would say, blah, 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 things like that. Uh, Eventually, I think she got tired and she said, this is a disservice to Ambedkar or something like that. And I thought about it for a moment and I realized that because you mentioned voice, a lot of irreverence that you would you would want to show in your work, or I would want to show in my work. It's not very easy for it to come because then it has to sort of respond to people like this who will say this is a disservice to your community or whatever. I mean, every act of the simple act of making a film, but with some kind of fun. Somehow, as if fun is not anti-caste, as if play is not anti-caste, as if not being dealing with caste not very seriously is not a good enough response to caste. Those are the inclinations we keep getting used to. Often, even without wanting to, I end up feeling guilty because when people say things like this, it sort of just makes me want to sit up for a little bit and say, wait, why did she use the word disservice like that? What do you do with this guilt? I mean, I don't know if you have.
I don't have any guilt.
I'd like to hear more of that.
Actually, I wrote it many years back that in a society where pleasures are forbidden, even a happy Dalit is an act of resistance.
Yes.
So I like to enjoy it, to be very honest. But obviously, there is a pressure from people that if you're a Dalit, then you have to
be unhappy,
suffer. Now tell me about your traumatic stories.
Yes.
I mean, tell me about that intellectual spanking. Like my privilege. Let me know. I want to understand my privilege and everything. So I don't want to perform for anybody. I just want to express what I like to do. That may have the mention of caste if it is necessary in that particular thing. It may not have mention of it. I also like different kind of things. So I want to live accordingly and I want to express myself in that way. I don't want to perform for any kind of audience. For me the main thing is the idea of self expression, so I want to avoid these kind of
this is great to hear and very liberating, because more and more I think young Dalits who are learning how to read or write or perform or do art or some form or the other are sort of forced to customize their identity into this bracket that doesn't let them fully figure out what their self-expression should be like. And even before you figure out your role as an artist, you are wrecked with guilt or some nonsense like that. So it's very freeing to hear something like that. So when you speak about voice and irreverence and not feeling guilty at all, what is it that drives these films? A sense of play, a sense of figuring out what it is that you want people to see when they see your films?
Also to understand myself. Like when you're writing something and it's more of a subconscious thing in the art, you also understand yourself, your reality and your thing. So there are many ideas. For example, even the idea of junk memories, like some memories which don't make any sense. Like I don't understand what is the meaning of it. For example, this video, 1999, that video. So that is shot very poorly and edited. Poorly as in like from that editing standard, if somebody. So you see then this is a B film kind of a thing and everything. So earlier I also used to think okay, क्या है ऐसा क्या edit किया वहाँ लोग देखो कितना इतने पैसे दे के edit कर रहे हैं अपने marriage function वगैरह और इतने बड़े DSLR हमारा ऐसे छोटा मोटा edit है. But then I started watching it and then I realized that there is some kind of beauty in it. So for वो भी, I mean, you also change as a person over the years when you liberate yourself from this, what can be the art, what can be sacred, what can be profane and all these things. So when I rewatched it, I said there is some kind of beauty in it and I want to explore it. I want to explore my family also, even village, this my Naniyal. So there are strange kind of memories associated with it, which I couldn't make sense. Like the peacock voices. तो वहाँ पे पूरी रात को like there would be 40-50 peacocks, right? Like बहुत जोर से आवाज करते हैं. They wouldn't let you sleep sometime. But that's also addictive. So I wanted to present it somewhere so that subconsciously I release that thing. Like tick mark, like chapter close, like something like that. But I don't have dreams now of my villages for some reason. So I can't articulate it properly, but like I release that thing. Like when I documented it, then for me it made some sense. So like I'm okay. So similarly in other writing works as well, like some useless memory of me sitting at metro observing people, if I write it down, then I'm okay. I'm happy that I didn't waste that memory, or I made sense of it. So yeah, these things are also that process of making sense of absurdity of life. So that is there. And also even the Dalit representation you see in films and everywhere, it is full of like unhappiness, like the idea of resistance, as if they are resisting all the time and not leaving, which is also reality. But there are many different kind of reality exist at the same time. So you can't just pick one reality and use it again and again and again. So I wanted to break it because the place where I come from is like a very humorous kind of a space. Everybody makes fun of each other. Everybody laughs. They also celebrate, roast each other in a very fun way. The sense of humor is a very integral part of our culture. So if I remove it and एक ही जगह पे shot लगा के चला रहा हूँ, एक music चल रहा है सारंगी का, so that would be very unfair to their own culture. Because अब अभी if they can watch these film and enjoy it, मतलब obviously कुछ reference they won't get it, but mostly they can watch it and enjoy because they do watch in the village. So I also wanted to make film जहाँ पे subject can also understand because mostly the subject को समझ ही नहीं आती आप क्या बना रहे हो, because they are all only restricted to certain centers where you can elite center where you can present that. So this idea was also there that ऐसी फिल्म बने कि समझ में भी आए, मतलब उनको भी they can enjoy it जिनके बारे में मैंने बनाया. So yeah.
I want to take a moment to talk about what a kick-ass thing that is, what you just said about wanting to do a tick mark of the things that was irritating you subconsciously. Because that brings us back to the question about craft. And you take someone like Paranjit, who makes these stunning films, and you'll have people, all these critics who will ask him questions like, do you ever think you'll make an aesthetic film just for art's sake, not for, caste and all of that? And he's just staring at this film critic saying, I am doing art, man. Can't you see it? Open your eyes. That. I've been longing to hear conversations about art and its role in in your life, and like it is in Paranjit's life. So when you said this thing about ticking something off the mark just because it's bothering you, it makes it very intimate, and also it's very touchable. It's a very touchable reality of craft and of art. I've heard people say things like, I wake up at 3 and I work my ass off, I write and I write and I write. And I kept thinking, in order to be a writer, you have to do all of those things, like suffer and sit in front of a typewriter, bleed and all of that. And here you're saying something very stunning and something very sweet, which is, I'm doing it for myself, which is, it'll irritate me if I don't, so I want to put a tick mark there, and when I do it, I'm fine in life, I can move on with other things. Very often, that is our relationship with art. Yeah. And somehow, when usually Savarna artists talk about art and they talk about solitude and all of that, it just makes it feel that much more far away. So it doesn't seem to me that your work or your art is meant for people to feel like, my God, there is so much distance between me. Will I ever reach that stage? It seems to me that the point of this art is to say, it's here. Touch it. Feel it. It's inside you. It's outside of you. And that, I think, is a glorious contribution to not just filmmaking, but also to people like us who want to be happy and not just suffer. 2 days ago, I went out with a friend who asked me, not 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I went out with a friend who asked me why I never order beef when we go out. And just to irritate her, I kept eating broccoli. Every time we went out, I kept ordering broccoli. And she was like, you really don't eat beef? But I mean, so she thought that Dalit people only eat beef all the time. That's all we eat. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, that's all we eat. And so she kept wondering, why is it that I order only broccoli and everywhere on Instagram I eat other things, but only with her I'm eating broccoli. So it's basically this playfulness with art that you have that doesn't think about how is it coming across to you or to you. This is me, this is my art, I'm having fun with it, you take care. Or not. Why I call this a glorious contribution is because we are at a very dangerous point in our lives, let me remind you all, where any representation that doesn't confront the reality in the minds of these people of a suffering Dalit is not a Dalit. So people have to do, if you're a Dalit, you have to do two things. You have to prove to Savarna people that you're worthy enough to be here. So, and you take your craft very seriously. But once you've reached that stage, you also have to prove to other Dalits that you're still suffering. So it's like a tightrope walk. But I like how you don't care about these other Dalits also, or other Savarnas also, and how you're happy in your own life.
It's a very selfish act, creation of art.
Great!
Because I really feel sick if I don't create something for a few days. I'm not kidding. I really feel sick. Like I couldn't operate, or like I can feel that. So for me, that creation is very personal, selfish act. And I'm not saying what I'm creating is great or whatever. That's a different thing. But it's very essential for my own survival. So there is no point of me thinking about anything or any. I mean, I have to do it to survive.
Waiting to hear for somebody to say that. It feels so nice to hear that. Thank you for that. Last question I have for you. You do have, do you ever get a kind of reaction where people end up asking you questions like, why do you make films like these? And when you have the power, don't you think you should be making other films? What do you usually say to these people? I know what you've said to us.
I don't answer if there's some question which doesn't
You've
make
had
sense.
people like that? I mean, I do know you've had trolls and people like that. What do you usually say to them?
I mean, troll, I don't know. I don't, that thing doesn't bother me that much, trolling and everything, because trolling is also kind of a person is very concerned about you. Because if I hate something, means there is some kind of engagement with that person. So even the hatred demands certain form of emotional energy and engagement with something. So if you are hating something, then means you are still attached with that thing. So that's why I don't even hate or like non-concerned about these things, to be very honest.
What are you working on at the moment?
Currently, I'm planning to extend this these one film into a feature length, 60-minute kind of a thing. So that thing I'm working, and there is a book I'm working on which is called The Loser Manifesto. So
What is it about?
it's an anti motivational book. So these days there are so many books about motivation. You can do it, hustle,
Self-help, self-care.
hustle culture,
Yeah.
and do epic shit and these things. So it's an anti that like Shiv Khera, he wrote Jeet Aapki. So mine is like Haar Aapki. So I'm connecting it different philosophy and like I'm not kidding. They're writing it.
I am taking you very seriously. Ever since we got on the stage, I'm listening to you very carefully. I do have a couple of more questions, but I will keep it open to the audience now. You guys can pitch in. If you have questions, you raise your hand.
Were you inspired by Aussie Man reviews in any way?
No. I watched it recently, 1-2 videos, but I wasn't. I mean, that doesn't inspire me that much.
We have one question there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, in 1999 in Sikar, near about that place, how did someone get a hold of a video cam? I mean, I'm also from a kind of a small city. Like, there was no, no indication of any kind of a video cam at that time. So I found it really surprising. Like, in such a small village, how did a video cam end up, and you are documenting everything?
Sikar is basically a district, so that's not a
Okay.
small village, but it's also interesting how did the video camera came there. Yeah, but this video camera is basically this house is like 20 people used to live in this house because all were rented, and the one guy, the owner of the house, his son was a video maker, so that's how he shot it, the whole thing.
All right.
But Rajasthan in video, I also used to think, आया कहाँ से 1999? Yeah.
Yeah, I found that interesting. Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to ask what Mr. and Mrs. Babulal felt about your voiceover of their wedding video.
They really liked it. And I also recorded one more video there, so I'll release it that as well. But generally it's like they really liked it, enjoyed it. अभी सबके phone में they have these videos, so they randomly watch it to kill boredom of village. Yeah.
Hello. So you spoke about loserism and you mentioned about Puneet Superstar. Such people can afford to express. There are many realities in loserism. Some people are very detached and they're in boredom, but they often get extreme emotional hike to express something. And Puneet Superstar or some people, they can do that. But other people who are in corporate or they are in conservative families, they cannot do that. And it's often any art form cannot help them to make it. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if I want to express something, something can be expressed in just a visual, like you said, the memory of watching someone in metro or writing something. But there cannot be defined art form to express like what Puneet does. And we often wrongly associate that as cringe. And we cannot do that expression. So how does someone deal with it?
I mean, I don't know. There can be different medium of expressing, and that's what I said, to reach at the correct medium where you can totally feel at ease and confident of that voice. That is kind of a eureka moment for any artist. And about Puneet Superstar and cringe, I mean, that's a long debate. I'm also writing about it. So, yeah. Interesting. People know Puneet Superstar here. I was surprised. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you ever deal with jealousy when you're looking at like a lot of other creators who don't necessarily like doing trends and all of that, getting more fame? Does that ever enter your mind as something?
Not jealousy, but sometimes little annoyance, like a mosquito bite kind of a thing. Not more than that. Yeah, that's it.
So you just swat
Because
it away.
because I mostly use these medium as a distribution network. Not, I mean, till now I'm using it. Maybe after a while I can also become an influencer if they pay me or something. I don't know. But till now I'm only using it as a distribution medium. So like initially I started like I'll put my things there. That's it. I got a medium to showcase my work, and the kind of response I get, I get very motivated by creating. So I enjoy a lot creating for the internet. So that's what I like about it. But the creators, these kind of creator influence, there will always be there. And it's also a good thing, because then even if you do any kind of average work, that's also shine. So it's good for people like me if they are bad creators. Yeah.
Hi. As you are in Bangalore now, so when can we see a video on hustle and startup?
Hustle and startup. No, I haven't spent that much time here, so yeah, maybe. I wrote an article on print that Bangalore is a shy kid which is trying so hard to be extrovert. So that's what I think about Bangalore. But yeah, not now, maybe next time, yeah.
Okay.
You haven't done a video on Bangalore, no, yet?
Not in Bangalore yet. Because most of the things are already stereotyped, like the traffic and everything, so I don't want to repeat it, because these jokes are
You'll
done to
find
death.
something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Anurag. I wanted to ask, the process that you spoke about of finding your voice sounded like a long process. Was it mostly through the format of the video essay? And also, once you felt like you'd found your voice, was it something that was easy to take to the other formats like your podcast and stuff? Or was it something that required effort? Or was it like this uniform voice that's here and it's...
Podcast is a very different kind of a medium. So that's very different. But this whole artistic voice and everything, It came because initially I used to think that voiceovers are anti-cinemas because the way we are trained and everything in this art world, that visuals should speak and you shouldn't speak that much and everything. So I was not confident of using a voiceover. I thought it's a bad thing to do. But as I said, during the pandemic, I thought let whatever comes will come through my subconscious. So that really helped me because for example, I tried very hard to write a book on Nahargarh in Jaipur. So it's not in Nahargarh, but in Jaipur in general, like especially connecting with Rang De Basanti when the shooting happened, then the Nahargarh fort became very famous. Now if you go to Nahargarh, then there are like green क्या बोलते हैं उसको green sand everywhere. That's because वहाँ पे beer की bottle इतनी टूटी हैं, लोग दारू पी पी के रंग दे बसंती के चक्कर में, like green bhumi, like it should be red because there were many wars were fought there, but now it's a green bhumi because of the beer bottles and everything. So I wanted to write it in form of a novel for 2-3 years, but I couldn't write it. So I was very frustrated, like why can't I express this thing which I want to say? But I made a video on Nahargarh and I explained everything, and that within 2 days, basically. The same thing for which I was struggling so much because that form is not natural to me. So this form is natural to me. Now the effort become very less, and the whole process also become very cathartic, and also you can express yourself more through that. So that's what I think, that finding your own particular process and the medium is very important. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Hi. So I just wanted to ask. You're talking about representation and conforming to certain worldview. I'll be just digressing a bit. I mean, a few years back there was this movie called Padmavat, completely different, and they basically described a lot of the culture of I mean, there was a lot of dispute, and especially Rajasthan was on fire, and they said, and we largely heard a lot of Karni Sena and what they were thinking. But I'm just trying to understand, what do you think that was something that was going against the culture, and let's say people in the area you shot the video, I mean, what do you think they thought something against?
No, because in the mainstream representation, what you see is only the Rajput culture of Rajasthan, and we think that is the only culture in Rajasthan which is a Rajput culture. For example, Khammagani, and like even if I say someone that I am from Rajasthan, they say Khammagani. I said, what? We don't have Khammagani culture. It's a Rajput culture. So people often confuse that Rajput culture with the entire Rajasthan culture. So that is the problem, and this is mostly due to the films. Even the independent film also showcase these this only one kind of culture. So through this, I also wanted to break that Rajasthan is much more than forts and everything, Havelis. There can be more subcultures which are going on. So yeah, that's also an idea. By the way, a fort in Rajasthan, Mehrangarh Fort. So वहाँ पे there is written कि इस fort को बनाने में I forgot the name, dash Meghwal की बलि हुई. So at that time they used to how to explain this, एक इंसान की बलि देते थे fort को बनाने से पहले, and that bali was from Dalit community. So I'm making something on it, like there would be a reference of it. So that's what I'm saying, that the culture is complicated. Rajasthani culture is complicated, and what we see is only one kind of culture. So yeah. ठीक है. Okay, अच्छा.
Because people were asking about voice so much, I feel like a lot of what you do with the podcast is make space for other people's voices. And do you feel like that is also in some way an expressive process, or do you think that you're making space for, like, it's not your personal practice, or that you're making space for other people to express themselves, or is there something that the subconscious itch kind of thing that you spoke about.
Yeah, that is there, and also I also want to learn something through that conversation. So that process is also about learning something new from each podcast. So that is my main idea, and also I was completely sick of this concept कि जब भी कोई intellectual का नाम आता है, then there would be 5-6 people who are intellectual in India. So even these independent news channel and these places, जब भी intellectual बुलाने होते हैं, they have 6 people. Like I don't want to name them, but हाँ ठीक है, वो 6-7 लोग ही हैं, बार as if इस country में उसके अलावा कोई intellectual ही नहीं है, किसी के पास कोई argument ही नहीं है. So that I was very sick of that thing. So it comes from that frustration as well, कि why we have to listen to these 6 or 10 people all the time, as if there are no stories anywhere. So I wanted to challenge that as well. These two things are one of the primary importance. Although I stopped my podcast after 3 episodes because I thought I couldn't do it. So I also don't know how I reached, but the whole process is very organic process.
Hi Anurag. Hi Kunal here. A great film, by the way. I want to ask you, like, my mind has a tendency to joke about tragedies, like laugh at tragedies sometimes in a way. Obviously you can't do it soon enough, but your mind sometimes it does go in that direction, and I make a private joke about it, like nobody has to know. Like this recent Ocean Gate tragedy with the submersible. It's a big event, obviously, but have you ever had that experience wherein you have to voice humor in the face of tragedy? Like, how do you deal with it?
Kind of, because it's humor. Say if there are some difficult situations, they eases out. The absurdity of the life can be reduced through humor. So that's why I mentioned some of the filmmaker who use it very well. Even the Tsai Ming Liang, Taiwanese Malaysian filmmaker, he uses it very well. Even in my personal life, I try to use joke to dilute certain events which can be traumatic. So that has been the process. I remember when my grandmother died, so we were obviously extremely sad the whole day, and out of sudden a cow entered in our room. I don't know why, in the village, and I said, "Mummy, dadi ka punarjanam ho gaya." So at that time we felt like everybody relaxed, like something like that. Like I use in the tragic situation also, too, because that's only we have as a punch. There was chances 2-3 times. One time I made a video on my engineering college, started by इस college में पढ़ने का दुर्भाग्य प्राप्त हुआ, and it was very brutal when I watched it. So that got banned as in like he sent me defamation, like he was about to send me defamation and everything. So, and one time I made a film on a theatre space, Jawahar Kala Kendra. So these theatre guys got very offended and they wanted to beat me in Jaipur. So punchline is basically getting punched after every line. So, yeah.
Hi. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಕಷ್ಟ, ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
I'll translate.
ಸೊ ನಾನು ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ನನ್ನ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಟ್ಟಾಗಿರೋ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಗಳು, ನಮ್ಮೂರವರೆಲ್ಲ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ರುಗಳು ಆ ಥರ. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಬೇರೆ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅದು ಫುಲ್ ಉಲ್ಟಾ. ಅಂದರೆ ಯೂಶ್ವಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಜನ ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಇವನು ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಥರ. ಈಗಿರೋದು ಅದು ನಮ್ಮೂರಿನ ಕತೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಡೆಯೋ ಕತೆ. ಎರಡನೇದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ರ್ಗಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ರ್ಗಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ರೊಮ್ಯಾಂಟಿಕ್ ಮ್ಯೂಸಿಕಲ್ ಕಾಮಿಡಿ ಥರ ಫಿಲ್ಮು. ಅಂದರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸರಿ ನಾ ಈ ಕತೆ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ನನ್ನ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಗಳಿಗೆ, ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ಗೆ, ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಗುರು, ನೀ ಈ ಥರ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ನೀನು ಅಂತವ್ರು, ನೀನು ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಅದನ್ನೇ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರ. ಅಂದರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅವರು ಈ ಥರ ಕತೆ ಬರಿಬೋದು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇ ಮಾಡಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು. ಎರಡನೇದು, ಈ ಥರ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ನೀನು ಅಂತ. ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ, ನನಗೆ ಕತೆ ಬಂದಿನ ಹೇಳಲೇಬೇಕು ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಸುಮಾರು ತಿಂಗಳವರೆಗೆ ನಂಗೆ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಅಂದರೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಬಾರ್ದ ಕತೆನಾ ಇದು. ಭಾಳ ಜನರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇದೇ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ನೇ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು ಫಸ್ಟು. ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಬರೀ ಬೀಫೇ ತಿನ್ನಬೇಕು, ಬೇರೇನೂ ತಿನ್ನಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ. ಅದೇ ಥರ ಅಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಮ್ಮೂರಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ನಮ್ಮೂರು ಜನ ಜೊತೆನೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಬೇರೇನೂ ಮಾಡಲೇಬಾರ್ದು, ಬೇರೆ ಥರ ಕಥೆನೇ ಹೇಳಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಇವ್ರು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ನನಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಆಯಿತು. ಎಲ್ಲ ಥರ ಕಥೆಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ನಾವು ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ಮಾರಿ ಸೆಲ್ವರಾಜ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು ರೀಸೆಂಟಾಗಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆ್ಯಂಟಿ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮೇಕರ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರಂತ. ನನಗೆ ಅವರು ಓಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಬಟ್ ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮೀರಿನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ನನಗೆ ಯಾರು ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಗ್ಲು ನವೀನ್ ಇವ್ನು ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮೇಕರ್ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅನ್ಸಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಗುರು ಬರೀ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮೇಕರ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತಿರೋದು. ಸೊ ಆ ಥರ ಫಿಲ್ಮಲ್ಲೂ ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಜಾನ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅನ್ಸಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಇವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯ್ತು, ಅಂದರೆ ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಆಯಿತು ಖುಷಿಗಿಂತ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಥರ ಕಥೆನೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಪಡಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
Oh my God. I just love this. So this is a young filmmaker in Bangalore called Naveen Tejaswi. He's finished making 3 films. His first 2 films were set in his village, about what they did in the pandemic. I've watched all his films, kick-ass films. First film was set in the village about what 2 boys do to deal with caste. The second film was also set in the village about how the villagers dealt with the pandemic and what happened, again about caste. He wants to make a film in Bangalore now, a romantic love story of sorts, musical comedy and things like that. But he has people around him who are telling him, you shouldn't do it because you have already established yourself as an anti-caste filmmaker. Make films in your village only. If you come to Bangalore, you won't be able to find caste or whatever. But go back to your village and make films there only.
Cinematic ghettoization.
Yeah. So he's saying that he felt very disheartened every time he heard people say things like that. But he's very thankful for having come here and heard you, because he says he's feeling very relieved that a filmmaker can make films of these kinds that are not just, I'm going to sit here and do whatever you ask of me, but anything I want. So he says he's feeling very relieved. I can see it in his face. He looks very, very happy and relieved. He's very appreciative, and he said he wants to thank you.
But for that, I think it's very important in the creative process that you don't listen to, I mean, it's okay to obviously listen what people are saying, but it's also important to
not listen.
Although वैसे मेरे humbleness में बोलते हैं नहीं सुनना चाहिए, and I shouldn't listen mostly, because even when I was creating, some people will put doubt like, why are you doing this? Why don't you do big films in Bombay? Internet is not a medium for you. Why you put your films on internet and everything? But as I said, that I knew why I want to create, with a very selfish reason for the self-expression kind of a thing. So it didn't bother me, and I kept going. So it's also very important to not listen to what people around you are saying in this process. Yeah.
Give him the mic, no?
So I'm making this film. So like I'll tell one line. Like people usually ask, "What's this film about?" I say in one line, "It's my love letter to Bangalore." It's a film set in Bangalore. It's a musical drama about 2 people majorly. I went to many production houses, but somehow they want a big star and stuff. I'm like, no. So I'm fundraising for it. It's a crowdfunding model. Basically, like if you're investing in the film, you'll get returns like accordingly, something like that. So I have started raising the funds. I have raised like almost 30% of the fund in like 4 days. I want to make this film this year. So if you are interested to be a part of this film, okay, you have to find me on Instagram now because there is no other way. So it's Naveen Tejaswi, NAVEENTEJSWA. You can search on YouTube or Instagram, you'll find my films. So there is a form in my Instagram bio, you have to fill that. Sorry, it's like a little complicated. So if you want to be a part of this film, please, fill that form. Or if you want to watch my films before, just type Naveen Tejaswi in YouTube, you'll get my films, 3 films. 1 is bad, 2 are okay. So they're like fun films set in my village. All my villagers, my grandma, my uncle, everyone acted. If you like those films, and if you want, I have written one post in Instagram, what's this film about, and like 4 slides, some 500 words. So read them if you are interested to, like invest money in my film. And please, fill that form, and I'd be really happy if you can be a part of this film. Thank you so much.
We had a question, and last question. We have to wrap it up. Okay.
So I know you've talked about finding a voice and the format of your expression and all of that, and I guess like not listening to the noise outside, whether it's criticism or appreciation or whatever. But I'm sure like I'm wondering like I'm sure that 12-year period that you had, you would have experienced it in levels of intensity. So I guess how did you like one get past that? And I think all of us are asking because I guess we are figuring out ways of getting past that. But in those sort of moments of like, I guess getting disheartened or sort of losing your sense of clarity, how do you like rein back in?
I don't know. This idea of waiting and enduring is very important part in this creative process because there is no exact rule like 2 plus 2 would be 4. There is no such thing. Like if you do this and if you do that, then this would be the outcome. 2 plus 2 can be 44 or something. Like we don't know what is going to happen. So that is the two thing I've learned, that you have to endure and keep on going. And obviously it's extremely difficult because there are days when you will be totally hopeless and don't know what to do. And in fact, even before making these film or before the pandemic started, I was also quite hopeless. I said, "Ab aur nahi chal sakta." Bahut ho gaya, abhi nahi. I can't continue like this because I was also very sure that one thing I was sure that I don't want to work in the mainstream setup, mainstream industry, and these kind of that whole process didn't interest me. And there are no people whom I respect in the mainstream, so that thing can't happen. So that was my stubborn desire. So because of that I suffered a lot because I don't want to work in the mainstream setup. And now what are the options? And the option that were available was not making any much sense to me. So I was struggling to find something. So yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. I kept going and suddenly I found something. But for that, the consistency is important. Consistency of doing it and enduring it.
Last question.
Hi Anurag. My question was about language. So the use of Hindi in all of your videos has been such a joy for me and also our own entire household. It's one of the comedy things I really, really enjoyed sharing with my parents who grew up in small towns in Morena, Aligarh. Was that something you always knew it would have to be in Hindi? There are a lot of words that I pick up that I know but don't use, or can figure out what it is but have not used and I don't think I will use in every day. So what was that always the intention? Did you think it might be in English? Thanks.
No, it also organically came. Like I never wanted to do this Hindi voiceover or is tarah se. But I used to read newspaper a lot. Like during the whole childhood thing, there was two stupid newspapers, Rajasthan Patrika and Dainik Bhaskar, which I used to read a lot. And even watch Hindi videos a lot. Sometimes Osho ke Hindi videos where he speaks very good Hindi, and also he is quite funny. So I used to like that humor as well. So obviously magazines like Champak and Nanne Samrat, Balhans, Grah Shobha also sometimes. So these kind of everything gets stored in your subconscious, and since I'm from that area, I can find humor in the slightest of twist in the sentence. There is a humor, and I don't have to overdo it. I can just twist something and it will become funny. So that training of language was already there, and when I started making it, I said it's quite funny this way. So yeah, I continued it.
I have a question. It's a very irritating question that many of our parents asked us for many, many years. Most of us didn't have the answer then. We still don't have the answer now. I wonder if you have something to add. When you work with this particular kind of artistic practice, which is non-mainstream, are you able to make a living?
Yeah, I mean, not that much, but I survived somehow. I don't know how, because it's a very dangerous thing to live that way. But I think when you're doing something and you are very clear, obviously there would be days when you won't have money and these kind of stuff. But if you are determined to do something, then kuch na kuch, I mean, something keeps on happening. Or I was also lucky in that sense that my parents, they didn't force me to do, like in Rajasthan, everybody is doing UPSC, the IES. Maybe they realize that I'm too stupid to crack the exam or something like that, because they never forced me to do anything which I didn't want. So I had that privilege also, and income you get it somehow. Because so one good thing I also did is, like, I trained in video editing from Film Institute. So video editing is a technical thing, and in Bombay I worked in some like freelance, like whenever I had कि अभी पैसे नहीं बचे खाने के, तो I would work like I used to edit, sometimes used to edit the video of Lakme fashion shows or these random things to survive myself. So वो हो जाता है. I mean, the thing is that first of all, it's your choice that you are entering this way. अब उसमें कुछ भी होगा, then we have to negotiate through that. So that is also important, because I don't have plan B कि ये नहीं करूँगा तो I can fall to that. I don't have it. This is the way only I have chosen. इसमें जो आएगा I'll figure it out.
Last question.
Like inner engineering kind of thing.
No, like Sadhguru kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a part B. Should I say it now or after you answer this?
Sorry.
There's a part B to the question.
Part B, yeah.
Do you feel like you're being yourself like all the time when you're creating art? Because I feel like a lot of us are just trying to be ourselves when we're making art, and then you find out actually deep down you're profoundly empty, so you can say anything and create anything. So do you actually feel like you're being yourself, or do you feel like some formats are more you and some...
I don't know what is being yourself. Sadhguru might know, but I don't know, to be very honest. And if I'm creating something, there can be only one part, because we only, being yourself, we exist on so many layers, like we can have so many personalities. So this can be a reflection of a certain personality. It can't be the entire, entire me is being projected into my work. It can't happen. It can be certain portion of my life, that's it. So the podcast can have my intellectual query to understand the world. It can be my subconscious, understand my own subconscious. So everything has some sort of, so being yourself doesn't mean, to be very honest, it doesn't mean anything, because we are very fractured soul. Yes or no?
Thank you.
Sorry, I was just saying.
No, so I guess you should stop trying to be yourself. It just also feels very abstract, and just make something and it'll be a part of you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometime also this whole idea, like be yourself, be yourself. What if you are extremely mediocre person with extremely mediocre thought? So then you have to really push yourself to be something else, no? How can you survive with being yourself? So I really don't understand. Be happy whoever you are, be yourself. Like I don't understand this.
The training your subconscious, your vibrations and all that.
Training that is it, like, yeah. By like I don't know what to answer.
No, I want to take him to my classroom. Have him say this to my students. Yeah. More questions? Wait, what is the time?
Hi, Anurag. One of my favorite of your creations is somebody called Ronnie. And Ronnie's been missing in action for a long time. And where is he gone? Yeah, that's what. And in fact, me and my friend thought that Ronnie should do a visit to Sikar. And
he's currently studying gender studies at Columbia.
Is he busy being a sapiosexual, intersectional feminist?
Yeah. He made the entry in that recent Ashoka video.
Okay.
So, yeah.
He's from Ashoka also, no?
Yeah.
He's from Ashoka. So he's gone back to his...
वो पहली ईट उसी ने रखी उसके पापा ने.
अच्छा. ठीक. Okay.
ग्रह पूजन के लिए भी उन्हीं के पुजारी हैं.
अच्छा.
Last question. going to cry.
I just want to know why you chose the name Anurag minus Varma.
Perfect. Kahe last ke liye. So minus, see, like my name is Anurag, so there is no surname. Like on passport, Aadhaar, there is no surname. So when I joined Facebook in 2011, so you can't leave that surname column empty. So I have to write it, like Zuckerberg being casteist, like I have to write something there. So some people in my family use Verma surname. So I jokingly wrote Anurag minus Verma. So that thing continued from that place. Yeah, that's how it happened.
In the interest of disclosure, Nimi just told me that when she was making the poster, she was going to say Anurag minus Verma in conversation with Vijeta plus Kumar, it seems. We can do something.
This is a very running joke everywhere.
Running joke. There are no more questions. I'm not asking, I thought I'll just tell. No, but I do want to take a couple of seconds to say that I echo what Naveen Tejaswi has just said. It's a relief to have somebody like you, because more and more all around us, there are only caricatures of versions who we don't want to be. And it's such a relief and a luxury to work with somebody like you today and to see your work. Because it's also, I like that what Anurag's relationship with art is doing is this creative while being anti-creative, struggling while also being anti-struggle, motivating while also being anti-motivation. So that's fresh, and it's also, there's no distinction between people who had to, basically you don't like, I'm tired of buying the image that artists have to suffer. And this is great because he's having fun, and he's like including all of you and welcoming you into his world and saying, this is a better way of doing it, why don't you join me? And I think that's great. So thank you very much. After talking to you, I really do feel मुझे सौभाग्य प्राप्त पूरी तरह से हुआ है. Thank you.
I mean, it's just saying thank you to the universe for random events. Like it's just like that. Like a random event just dropped, and you are just saying, "Mujhe saubhagya prapt hua." You are witnessing that randomness in its whole beauty. So it's like that. Because in Rajasthan, they used to write on card and everything whenever they're starting something new, कि आप हमारे यहाँ आके हमें सौभाग्य प्राप्त करवाइए. So I thought when I'm starting the video, let's start with सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ. Then that became kind of a ritual kind of a thing. You start with the सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ, and yeah. Thank you so much, Vijeta.